So first of all, I will give you a short introduction to who I am and also why you guys should even listen to me. Secondly, I will go through and tell you guys a story that has very strong measurements within marketing communication and also sales, because there are so many similarities between sales and marketing today. And that story hopefully will give you a really good push into the next step, which would be 5 ways of actually getting started with really good communication when it comes to digital marketing. So that's going to be the agenda. So we will also go through the 5 steps to get you guys started with really modern and edgy marketing, so that you can actually take all the benefits with you to your company and have a better communication with clients. So let's get started, you guys. Let's dive in. So short background and introduction to me. Again, my name is Sarah Larsson, founder of Break the Box, which is my own consultancy agency. So I have about 17 years of working within sales and marketing, which means that basically I've done this for a while. It's not forever, but it feels like it sometimes. So within social channels and modern marketing, I've been working with clients delivering services for a long time. One of my previous works was at an agency that delivered inbound marketing, very similar to Markedspartners, who's arranging this specific conference, which is awesome of them, all online. You guys have to love that, right? You don't even have to go anywhere. I'm also a used keynote speaker. I've been to multiple conferences. I've worked a lot with Microsoft as an example, and teaching their partners how to become modern sales and marketing people, which has been awesome. It's been a great ride. So basically that's why you guys should listen to me, because I've been in this game for a long time, and also had a lot of marketing managers as my order people, because I've had a lot of customers within that space. So that's basically why. So let's move over to the story, which is so much more exciting than talking about myself. So the story is the following. So a few years back, I was at a meeting with a big CFO at a big company. And that's always exciting when you have that first meeting. And the meeting went so well. I was in sales at the time, and we had a really good first session. You guys probably know the feeling when you just walk out of a session, you just feel like you have the same vision, you have the same plan, you both want to do whatever project you're going to do together, and everything feels right. And you also have the next step plan, like everything is in order. And that's how I left the first meeting. And then I came into the second meeting a week after, which was our plan next step, where we were gonna go details on the plan. So we were already decided that we wanted to work together. And then I came into the meeting, and my gut feeling just, oh my God, something's wrong. Something was off in the meeting, and I didn't really know what it was. So we had basically a cold conversation for like an hour, and then I left the meeting without any next steps, just with that gut feeling that something was wrong and no answers to why. So I came home that afternoon. I was just analyzing the meeting over and over, trying to figure out where stuff had gone wrong. And then I was in bed that night, and I was just continuing to just thinking about the meeting and just being frustrated about not knowing what had gone wrong. So the next morning I woke up and I was just like, I cannot go without knowing what happened. And most people in that situation would probably have sort of let it go. Like, it's not gonna happen. I might keep it in my pipeline for a while, but then I'm just gonna sort of let it drift away, and I'm not gonna figure out why it didn't happen. I'm not gonna ask any questions. That this customer can come back to me if they want to buy, but obviously you realize somewhere that is not gonna happen. But I couldn't do that, because I live sort of out of comfort zone all the time, and I cannot stress the importance for me personally to actually learn and understand. So for me, it's never been about closing the deal or creating a great campaign that people view online. It's always been about actually connecting, having a conversation with people, and understanding more about why they are making the decisions they are making. So I actually went to his office unannounced, and then I talked to the receptionist, and I asked her if she could call up to this guy, and she did, and he had a few minutes free. So he invited me up to his office, and we sat down in a room, and I was just like, okay, maybe it was just me, but I have such a bad stomach feeling, like I have such a bad gut feeling, and something was off yesterday. Do you agree with me, or is it just me? Am I imagining this? And then I also added, because most people are afraid to say no, right? You don't want to be the one who says, no, we're not going to buy, or no, we're not going to do whatever the other person wants you to do. So I just removed that from the discussion by saying, I don't care if we do business or not, but I really need to understand what's going on, because something is off in my mind. Like I'm never gonna let this go. I just need to understand. And he just laughed, and then it turned out that they were just in a situation where they were going into a merger. And he couldn't talk about it because it was confidential, right? Because they weren't finished yet, and he found out between our first and second meeting. So he sort of just took the meeting because he thought we had a really good first meeting, but he couldn't really tell me anything because all investments, as most of you probably know, are put on hold when you go through a merger, because you won't invest for a few months, because the merger needs to be finalized first, and every person in the company needs to actually be part of the new company, whatever that might be. So that sort of pauses everything else in operations, unfortunately. So when he told me this, the first thing that popped into my head was, wait a minute, I know this guy who's actually gone through the process a few months back, so he knows all the pitfalls. Because there will be pitfalls that you will fall into when you go through a merger. He had a very similar role to this guy I was just sitting in front of. So I actually just told him, so I have a contact you should talk to. He's outside of your company, and he's also gone through this. So he can give you all his tips and tricks so that you don't have to fall into the same pitfalls. And I told him this not because I wanted to close a deal with them, because I realized that was far ahead in the future, and that wasn't even, maybe it wouldn't even happen. He might not be there in a year at the new company, right? So I told him this because I had a connection. So why wouldn't I help him out when I could? It makes no sense to me why you wouldn't offer to help someone if you can, especially in business, because that will rub off, and the benefit you will have from that will actually be new deals coming in and better relationships with people, but that comes as a side effect. Like a positive side effect. That's not my main priority when it comes to conversations, both online or offline. So anyway, I gave him the contact. Obviously, like 6 months later, he came back and we made a deal, because he realized that this is a girl who will be truthful about what they can offer. She will connect with people that I could have benefits from connecting with. And she also doesn't really care if we make the business or not. She just wants to help. So that is the story, that's sort of a baseline for this entire conversation, because one of the things that everyone needs to realize today is that all your marketing needs to be about helping companies and people with their current situation or with their job. Helping is everything. So give away as much help as you can when it comes to your knowledge, when it comes to your product, give away, because again, the side benefit will be that you will have more customers that are more happy than if you don't give away any information. And I've been through conversations with different companies and marketing managers who's actually fearful that what if we give away too much? What if we give away enough so that people can do what we deliver on their own? And then my question comes back to, so what if 10% of the people you help can do it alone? Most of the people that you will help through content, through webinars, through conversations online, will have the help from you as a way of realizing that they need more help from you, because obviously you know what you're talking about. So don't be afraid to give away. That's one of the things that I think needs to be baseline for our entire webinar today. Give away help as much as you can, because it will give you a lot of different side benefits, including new customers and also existing customers being more happy with what you deliver to them. So this brings us straight into point number 3. The 5 steps you guys need to start doing to get this up and running in your companies. Let's be very operational. What do we actually need to do to get this benefit to happen in our company and to our customers? To actually have modern communication for real. So step number 1 will actually be to help your customers. I'm coming back to that because, again, baseline for this entire conversation is that you guys need to understand that your brand is no longer your company. Your brand is actually your employees. And employees on social channels, as an example, can help thousands of your potential customers and customers online during the day when they work. It's very simple. Again, your brand is no longer your company. It is your people. They are your brand because they have channels that you will never get into if you don't start trusting your staff to be really good online and to say with their own tonality the messages that you guys want them to say. I'm pretty sure most marketing managers here have had a conversation internally that, oh my god, we need to get everyone sharing our content online. Because since Markedspartner, who's arranging this conference, is an inbound agency, I'm guessing most of you are considering using inbound or already up and running with that. Meaning that you have a lot of content. And then you're in a situation probably now where you try to force your staff or employees to be active on social channels to share that content that you're creating to help customers, right? That's probably a situation for many of you. So first step, have in mind the whole point is helping your customers. Second step is actually to have whatever social media guidebook you guys have, you need to toss it out. I'm serious. Go to whatever archive covers you guys have where that social media guide is put, and just throw it in the trash. Because seriously, social media guidelines that are too complex stands in the way of your employees doing exactly what you're asking them to do, to help customers in social channels with your content. So throw it out, and then you have to start a new one. And that's going to be very simple, because the new one is just going to contain one sentence. So I'm going to tell you guys in a second, but first, go back to your staff, your employees, your people. Why are they hired at your company? Why have you hired them? I'm guessing that you've never sent out an employee to meet an existing or new potential customer with someone watching over their shoulder. That's probably never happened. If it does, you should not be employing that person. Like, you should not hire that person. If you feel like you need to have someone watching over their behavior in a customer meeting, then that person shouldn't be part of your people. So if you imagine that scenario where you would send someone out to watch over their shoulder when they're in a meeting, you don't trust that employee enough to actually speak their mind within the framework of your company and what that represents for this individual, and also the customer meeting that individual. So the idea with the social media guideline, many companies have very complex guidelines. They contain language, tonality guidelines, they have rules for what you can and cannot post, how you should behave, maybe how you even should post and when. And then you give them this guide, a very complex document, and then they say, so go ahead, share online. And that is a really hard thing, because the more complex you make it with rules, the harder it is to actually be online and be genuine, which is another thing that's really important within modern communication. You have to be yourself. So hashtag be yourself, and hashtag be brave. That's part of this discussion, because you have to realize that you have to trust your people. Again, your brand is not your company, it's your people. So if you don't trust them, don't hire them. And if you hire them anyway, just don't be on social media, because you won't get the effect you want with your content and your inbound and your marketing if you actually don't trust the people to carry out the message. So the social media guideline should contain only one thing. If you wouldn't say it in a meeting, don't say it online. It's that simple. So if you wouldn't, in a physical interaction, IRL or in real life, if you wouldn't do it there, if you wouldn't say that point of view or that sentence online or IRL, then don't use that person's voice, or just don't have that person hired. So that's very simple. So toss away your social media guideline and make a new one, and keep it simple, really, and make sure your employees have what they need to be themselves online. Just be you is a very important part of this, and let your staff or your people be themselves, because you've hired them for a reason. Now you just have to show them that you trust them enough to talk online as well as in meetings. So that's number two, the step number 2 that you guys need to do. The third step is actually to educate your people, right? Because if you're gonna have a guideline, that's one thing. Be yourself and don't say stuff in meetings that you wouldn't say online, or the other way around. If that is the rule, then you need to educate your people on how to be online. And I don't mean how to be themselves, I mean how to use online channels, how to be better at writing, how to record video so that they can communicate, and how to find their own tonality and voice. So education is really important, because if you don't educate them, people will feel insecure. And the first way of starting to educate them would actually be to put them in a room, the staff that you want to sort of share your message, put them in a room and tell them that everything online, when you put it in a physical context, is so much easier. So imagine this situation. You come into a mingle, a business mingle. You guys probably all been to those. You go around with a glass of wine or a coffee and you talk to people who have the same sort of interest that you have, like this conference. Most of you who are sitting and listening now are actually of the same role. You guys probably have shared interests. So this is like a business mingle, but it's online, right? So you won't actually meet each other besides online. After the sessions, you guys should connect on LinkedIn, obviously. But anyway, so imagine the situation where you're at the physical mingle. So you're going around there, you're having a glass of wine, you're talking to someone you don't know, and then on, like behind you, someone walks up to you and starts staring at you without saying anything. They're just like, and it's uncomfortable, right? This is uncomfortable. So you would start just, oh my God, what's happening? Who is this guy? And then he just leans over, put a business card, one of his, in your pocket, and then he just walks away. So what, is that weird? Yeah, that's completely weird, right? Who would do that in a physical context? And if they did, would they get any meetings? Would they get any conversation going? No, probably not. People would look weird at that person and just like, who is this person? What is he or she doing? Because it's so strange. And this is what many people who work for companies as your own actually do online. So you're on LinkedIn, as an example, and you just go around collecting business cards. You don't even have a conversation because you don't know how to engage in that online environment. So as an example, since the people is your brand, not your company anymore, give them tools on how to interact on LinkedIn. Because social channels is all about being brave, being yourself, and seeking conversation. Collecting business cards, let's face it, that's like from the 90s. We are past that. We're in 2020 in a few months. So why are people still collecting digital business cards on LinkedIn? It makes no sense. And foremost, if they then share their message that you told them to share online, no one's gonna see it because no one cares. Because they've had no conversation going on, right? So that is a real life situation that you can teach your employees to do exactly the same when they are online. So if someone comes over to you and hands you a business card, the first step would be to say, hi, my name is Sarah. What do you do and why do you want to talk to me? That's a very simple first step for most people on LinkedIn. When you get a connection request, start a conversation. Because that's what you would do in a physical environment in a business network mingle. Make sense? So that's step number 2. Give them the education they need to actually move forward. Okay, so you guys, we went through the first 3 steps of the 5 to get you guys started with really modern and brave marketing communication. So we've gone through, have the baseline to help your customers with every marketing material you create. Number 2, throw away your social media guide and create a new one with just one sentence that your employees or your people need to figure out what they would say in meetings and not say anything else online that they wouldn't say in a meeting IRL or in real life. Or the third, educate your people. Make sure that they understand how to use the different channels and how to talk in their own tonality about your company's message. And keep in mind again, your company brand is not your company anymore, it's your people. So educate them and make sure they know what they're doing and feel comfortable with the sort of online social scene that they are going to join now after this webinar, right? Okay, so let's move over to number 4, which is gamify for your employees. So people do things because of incentive. People will not go online and share your content if they have no incentive to do so. What's in it for me has to be turned around and looked at, and have an idea about what every employee will gain from helping you guys with your social presence, so that they can help your company get better and new customers in, and also help delight the exciting customers that you already have, or the existing customers that you already have. So that's number 4. So how do you gamify? Well, first of all, let's look at how you can actually make a contest out of being online and being active online for your staff or employees. So first of all, you could set up a dashboard where you look at everyone's activity. Who has been the most active soul on LinkedIn the last month? and start incentivizing why they should even be online. Also have that as part of the educational plan or the individual plan for every person in your company. So how are you going to make sure that everyone has incentive? Talk to them. Make sure that you understand why every individual would be online. What is the gain for them? For me individually, it's always been about learning and teaching others. So learning from others and teaching others about what I can, knowledge-wise, what I can help them with, has always been part of my online presence. I'm not there to get new meetings. I'm not there to share marketing material. I'm there to absorb and give away knowledge. That's my only purpose on LinkedIn. That's also one of the reasons, as you guys will notice if you connect with me on LinkedIn after this session, that I always start a conversation. Always. Every connection request I get, if there's no note about why they're connecting, I will ask them that connected with me. Why do you want to connect with me? What is your purpose? What are you looking to gain from this conversation with me? And how can I help you? That's my standing opening, because that's basically everything this is about. Online presence is about helping and getting information, absorbing it, learning from others, and teaching others about what you know. So that's a really good rule to have. You wouldn't go around in a business mingle and just hand out your business card. You actually have to have conversation. That's the whole point of being online. So you have to make sure that you can gamify that conversation somehow. Like increasing number of contacts doesn't mean that you're having conversations. So figure out per employee what is actually the reason. So gamify and make sure that every individual in your company has a reason why to be online. And make a dashboard out of it, make a competition out of it, and incentivize. Have it in the conversations when you employ new people. Talk to them about social presence and how important it is for both them, knowledge-wise, to grow their knowledge, and also for you as a company to be online. Because being online for every individual employee is actually something that gives you guys input straight from the horse's mouth, or from the customer or existing customer or new potential customer, about how they perceive your products, your services, how helpful they think that you are in their everyday sort of operational business situation, because that's the whole point of you being there, to help them. Let's go back to number one. Help your customers, basically everything that is the baseline for all of the things that you should do online. How is this helping my client? How is this helping our potential users or customers? Is it not helpful? Don't put it out there. If it's helpful, go for it and just do it. So gamify, make sure you find something that you can tie this up to, and talk about this in meetings. Have it up on the table every time you have an office meeting or a weekly meeting or a sales meeting every quarter or every month, whatever. Have it as a standing point. How are we talking online, and how are our people talking online about us? Very important. Step number 5, individual tonality. So how do you as a company find your own individual tonality? Because again, social presence and social digital marketing is all about conversations. We are no longer pushing out messages and just hoping that it reaches someone. We're looking to have interactions with our potential clients and our clients. We're looking for the conversation. So how do we get conversation? Well, first of all, again, your company brand is not your company. It is your people. So you have to get them to have conversation, because they're people. A company logo is not a person, and it would spur no interaction whatsoever. No matter how many questions you add to your LinkedIn shares from your company page, people will not reply. You guys probably already noticed this when you go online and you start working with your company social media, like company Facebook, company LinkedIn, company Instagram. You're not spurring conversation. And conversation is what everything is sort of landing in. You have to have a conversation. So figure out a way of getting each individual to find their own tonality and also their own way of communicating online. For some people, text, writing a share, or writing on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever you look at that they are, writing might work for some people. For some people, it doesn't work at all. So then video is a good sort of option to that. I use video in my marketing, which is basically me, my personal brand. I use video in my marketing all the time. Even when I just do something as simple as sending an email to a potential customer after we had our first meeting, I summarize in a video and I send that through email instead of doing it through text, because my tonality doesn't really come across as well through text. So just make sure you give them that option of doing video or doing text, as long as they find something they're comfortable with. And there's loads of software to use for video. There's also loads of software to help you guys per employee to improve how they write. Because when I started out in social, which was when I began working at my agency that I was at previously, I had no idea how to write. I wasn't a seasoned writer. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had a really good sort of epiphany when I realized that if I just say out loud what I'm supposed to be sharing, what I should write, and just write down exactly how I say it, that becomes my tonality. So that's a really good tip to give your employees to find their tonality. Just say out loud what you want to share, whatever message it is around a content piece or something like that that you're offering them to share, and write down exactly how you would say it out loud, because that would make it them. And again, company, not the company brand, it's the people. That's all the baseline for all the communication that you guys should be running. And helping, again, is so important. That was basically the 5 steps to get you guys started. If you have any questions, you should connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously, right? You should connect on LinkedIn, and please put a note in if you've seen the webinar, just so that I know what source you're coming through, and then we can have a conversation. I'm open to any question you guys have, and I will reply to all of you guys, because again, I'm here to help. So let me know if there's anything you have questions about. And then I also want to end by thanking Markedspartners for giving me the opportunity to be part of this conference. I'm so thankful to them. They're a really great agency, and I can't wait to continue my work with them, which is awesome. And thank you guys for listening, and have a great afternoon with the rest of the speakers and the rest of the sessions. Bye guys.